Hey everyone, welcome back to Well, That's Strange. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my personal experience with the dark goddess Lilith. Now, it could be that I experienced one side of her or one face of her. I'm not really too sure, so I'm hoping to get people's opinions on what was happening perhaps last year with my personal encounter with her. So, to give a quick backstory about Lilith, Lilith is often portrayed as a dark goddess in various mystical, occult, and feminist spiritual traditions. She is rooted in ancient Mesopotamian mythology and later appearing in Jewish folklore. She is typically described as a powerful, rebellious figure who refused to submit to Adam and left the Garden of Eden. In modern spiritual and esoteric circles, she symbolizes divine feminine power, sexual liberation and autonomy, and shadow integration and the reclaiming of suppressed aspects of the self. As a dark goddess, she embodies both the fierce, untamed aspects of femininity and the transformative power of embracing one's full truth, even the parts deemed taboo. She's often invoked for personal empowerment, protection, and shadow work. Also, I'd like to throw in that she apparently has many faces or aspects of herself, depending on the cultural, religious, or spiritual lens of which someone is looking through. I know that she is associated with the goddess Ishtar, okay, which I believe is associated with love and war and fertility, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me. But she's known or associated with that figure, with that goddess. And she's also known or seen from a satanic lens as well. Um, my goodness, what was the counterpart of her is known as Samael. That is from a satanic lens, and I'm not knocking it. I'm merely just making a statement here. And so, again, just illustrating the different ways that she is looked at depending on the lens you're looking through. Now, I was dealing with her, so to speak, I think from a satanic standpoint. And I say satanic because I wore her seal as the form of a pendant on my necklace. Now, I notice that people confuse the seal with the sigil of Lilith, and those are not the same thing. So that does kind of frustrate me when people say that they're the same thing when they're not. Seals are different than sigils. To me, sigils appear a little bit more, how would I put this? Not rural, but they appear a little bit more wild looking, if that makes sense. And I'm going to go ahead and put up pictures of the seal versus the sigil of Lilith. Okay. It looks more wild to me, the sigil, more like untamed, more like almost like some wild aspect of ourselves creates the sigil, and a more formal part of ourselves creates the sigil. And if you can think of the sigils associated with King Solomon, for example, those are seals, right? And those are associated with daemons or demonic figures from that time. Um, so that's what I think of to remind me, okay, these are more or less what seals look like versus sigils look a little bit more like they were handwritten, if that makes sense. And so with that, again, just giving you that extra little tidbit of information because it's important. Let's go back to the time last year where I was associating myself with her. I was in a dark place psychologically, spiritually, emotionally because I have post traumatic stress disorder. Now, it's not untreated. I did go to therapy quite quickly right after the thing that happened that put me in this position. I was going for a couple of years consistently, because I'm a huge advocate for mental health services. So I was going regularly. I was doing the deep diving. I was doing the quote unquote shadow work. I was doing all the dirty work. I have yet to go back and still process these things, but I'm much better than I was before. And I wasn't on medication at the time. And when I say that, I'm talking about psychiatric medication. I wasn't taking um, antidepressants or what have you. So I was really dealing with the bulk of it just with therapeutic intervention. And I got better for a little bit, and then I became worse when I moved away from my hometown to another city. And of course, it was different, and it was an adjustment at first. But I noticed my anxiety was getting worse, and I was having trouble sleeping. I was going into bouts of paranoia. Um, I mean, it was getting crazy, and so I knew that I don't know. I knew something had to eventually give or something had to change. But before I had my mini nervous breakdown, um, I was just trying to find a deity where I could feel some sense of empowerment. And I remember I felt very much called to by Lilith. But I want to say it was the dark aspect of her, or it was the dark version of her. Yes, she's known as a dark goddess, but, and I'm not trying to throw her under the bus by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just talking about my experience again. And so, again, I think I know I was associating myself with the quote unquote satanic version of her. Okay. Now, there was even a point where I felt under the spell or possessed by her. I felt like she was inhabiting my body and living through me because I didn't even feel like myself anymore. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like something else was inside of me. And I guess you can call that possession, but it wasn't the theatrical sense of it. It wasn't what we see in movies or what we see depicted in videos, these really extreme versions of possession. Mine was more, it was quite impactful, obviously, but it wasn't as crazy as it's depicted. So, from what I can recall, this deity or goddess figure was very like self-serving, very like seductive, very like, I guess I could say manipulative, um, just very like self-centered and all about manipulation, seduction, getting what she wants, um, and not feeling bad about it whatsoever. You know, it was a complete. If I could color it, if I can color it in colors, if that makes sense, if I could depict these traits in colors, they would be black and red. They would be black and red. And funny enough, I mean, uh, she is paid homage to with those colors amongst other things. Black and red are like the main two, but that's how I would describe her if I had to color her, like in a coloring book. I'd color her black and red. And again, it wasn't a good feeling. It was almost like this entity inhabited me, but from another dimension. That's how I would also describe it. It's from another dimension. It's from another. plane of existence, but she was working through me because I allowed it. And that's the thing with possession. You have to somehow allow it. And that's a whole nother conversation of how that can happen. But I mean, I think there's different ways you could. You're vulnerable in some sense. There's a crack in you, and through that crack, because you're not addressing the cracks in your soul, so to speak, or your spirit, there's gonna be something that's gonna find a way in because it wants that access to you. Again, this is a whole nother conversation, but that's my belief as of now, and it is subject to change. So again, that's what I clearly remember. I was very, very much obsessed with like dark femininity at the time. Again, nothing wrong with that. I was very obsessed with becoming seductive and manipulative and getting what I wanted and becoming as sexy as I could be, as attractive as I could be. I mean, I was really all up in it, and I really just was at my knees to Lilith, so to speak. I was really just allowing her to take over. And anyway, I mean, again, I started to um, really have trouble sleeping. My anxiety was getting worse. I was having really bad bouts of paranoia, which had no basis in reality. I mean, it was bad. And then it wasn't until I broke down in the shower and I said, um, I surrender myself to you, God. That's what I said. I surrender myself to you, God. Um, like, I need help. I need help. I can't do this anymore. Like, please help me. Because I had really gone into a dark place. I didn't even want to continue existing anymore. I didn't. I felt like the only peaceful place was the grave. I really did believe that at the time. And so I remember when I surrendered at that moment, there was complete silence. I was in the shower and I was like, okay, like what's going to happen? Because it was just pure silence besides the sound of the water. And that's when I heard in my mind, you are experiencing the dark night of the soul. And apparently, the dark night of the soul, if I had to describe it in one sentence or statement, it's having a crisis in faith, basically. And I can go ahead and put a snippet of the description if I find a short one here in the video. So, with that being said, I remember that I felt like lighter after that. I did end up getting rid of my my seal. I ended up getting rid of that and just anything that represented her. And I remember at first it was hard. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. And then I got rid of some other things too that I felt were just dark, like real dark. And then I ended up going to see a psychiatrist and I got on an antidepressant, and I it has really made a humongous difference. So the question is, was it just purely the medication that did it? Was it just the surrendering that did it, or was it a combination of the two things? I think it was a combination of the two things. First of all, I don't want to be possessed. I don't want something living through me or working through me. I want to be my own person, free to make my own decisions without something influencing me like that, like in a spiritual way. Like, I want to be me. I don't want to be somebody else. I want to be me, and I want to be left alone in peace and happiness. And I want to be protected by the light. I want to be protected by God's source. I want to be in the light. I don't want to be in the darkness. So finally, I guess, coming to this conclusion, um, I don't know what to think anymore of Lilith. I don't work with her anymore because I just don't know enough to do it. I just know what I was doing, and what I was experiencing, and that's all I could say about that. So I'm not here to say that she's wrong or she's evil or she's this and that. I'm not here to say that, but whatever I was doing, um, I wasn't doing it right. I wasn't doing it right. I don't think I should have been wearing things of a satanic nature, and that's just me. You do you. If you're into that, that's fine, but it's not for me. It's not for me. And I think I was just giving some evil entities beyond her access to me, to my spirit. And I think I was a perfect victim at the time because of the state of mind that I was in. And now that I'm on an antidepressant, I feel so much better. I mean, I really just feel 1,000 times better. Thank goodness. I just feel like more normal again, more balanced, more in control of myself, because before I felt like I wasn't. Post traumatic stress disorder, it's not something that's just like whatever. First of all, no mental health condition is like whatever. Those are clinical things that people are diagnosed with all the time, and they need to be taken seriously like you would take seriously a physical ailment or a disease. It's the same thing. We have diseases of the body, we got diseases of the mind, okay? So when I got on those antidepressants, I mean, I just felt like, man, I pulled myself out of this shit. I pulled myself out. Now I can make like better decisions. I have more clarity. I can be like a more grounded person now, which I consider myself to be today. So I'm more mindful of what I do now. And I just feel like I shouldn't be diving into something that I don't fully understand. Um, I think people really should do their research before doing anything of an occult nature. Again, I'm not here to dissuade anyone. I'm here to just issue a word of caution. You can't go in this world willy nilly. You really have to do your research about what it is that you're interested in and wanting to work with before you actually get all up in there and do the work. Um, and of course, you're going to have your own stories to tell, whether it's negative or positive or anything in between or extreme. You're going to have your own say, your own stories to tell, because they're going to be your own experiences, which I'm curious to hear about in the comment section. If you so choose to share, I would certainly be not privileged and honored to hear those things. So I hope nobody got offended. It's not my intention to, again, dissuade anyone or condemn anything or to, scare you away or offend you. Obviously, it's merely just to describe what I went through with uh, this aspect of her, if you will, or this version of her. I think the word version fits for this scenario. We'll go with that. But I heard I've heard some people have had some not experiences like I did. In fact, I think it's the complete opposite. So not like a scary experience, but rather like, I think, positive ones. Basically, where I didn't hear any complaints from these people. They She's highly revered by these individuals. She's worshiped by these individuals. She's honored by these individuals. She's sought after for guidance, for help of whatever nature she's associated with. She's sought after to this day. And again, whatever makes you feel happy and fulfilled, that's all I'll say, within reason, of course. Shouldn't have Other people shouldn't have to suffer at the hand of one person, within reason, if that makes sense. As long as it harm none, do what thou wilt. Good old, who said that? Was it Aleister Crowley? Even though I heard that he was batshit crazy. I do agree with that statement, though. That's one of the statements that I incorporate into my life. But that's it. that's my experience in a nutshell, more or less. I think I covered everything. I might make a part two if I can remember anything additional, but I think I pretty much covered everything that has to do with my experience with her, like legitimate experience. Um, Excuse me. I really appreciate you all listening to my story. And again, please leave your comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Please like and subscribe and share with someone you think would be interested in something like this. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Be safe out there and take care.